Hello guys, welcome back to Gemini Gamers. This is part number 4 of our KSP tutorial series. So in this part I'm going to teach you how to land on Minmus and the Moon, both of them, because they're basically pretty similar. So, and we use a similar rocket and stuff like that to do all that stuff. So yeah, hopefully by the end of this one you can actually land and travel around the moon, deliver payloads to the moon, maybe something cool like that. You can do all that stuff, but yeah, it's a little difficult. Again, it may look simple. You may think, oh, I'm just gonna land this little ship on the moon, something simple like that. It's not, alright. It's pretty difficult. At least a couple times. The first couple times you do it, you're gonna again fail multiple times. But all you need to do is keep practicing. Once you get it that first time, you can just keep going. And remember, patience is very important. And yeah, pretty much just the same stuff that I went over in the last part when we talked about docking. Just gotta keep doing it, alright? You're not gonna get good at it if you don't keep doing it. It's just like anything else in life, right? So make sure that you don't give up. Sometimes, again, remember, it's better to just walk it off. Sometimes, you're getting really angry. You're like, man, I really want to land this thing. Sometimes you get really angry. Sometimes you end up quick saving on the wrong time and you end up screwing your Kerbals and stuff like that. So sometimes it's just better to walk it off, go outside, do whatever you need to do, And yeah, so again, just patience and calm is gonna get you this mission done. So anyway, let's move on here to the rocket and specifications, I guess, since this video is going to be a little bit longer, since we are landing on 2 bodies, and that usually takes a little longer, probably around 40 minutes, I think. I'm going to try to do it as fast as possible, but we'll see how long it ends up. So anyway, again, you're going to need a bigger rocket, right? You're going to the moon and stuff. For now, you're going to need an extremely large rocket compared to what you would normally use. Like for me, I could do it with a smaller rocket with a just a single core and a couple boosters, but just because you guys are barely starting to play the game, I recommend you adding a lot more than you actually need, which means you end up using these 2.5 meter parts. You shouldn't need to go higher than that, but if you're having trouble getting anything up there into orbit, any like payload into orbit, and having trouble, moving it into a translunar injection, just use the bigger parts, which means you're gonna be using the 3.75 parts, which are pretty big, if you ask me. So anyway, don't mess with those right now. You don't need to. You'll be messing with those a little bit later, probably in the next couple parts. But anyway, again, make sure you basically have all the requirements in the last stage of your rocket, all the requirements that you would normally bring along with you with an orbital ship. Again, I went over that in the second part where we went into orbit. So I went over the stuff you need, and I'm just going to go over a little bit here. You're going to need batteries, solar panels, command pod, heat shield, and a stacked decoupler. That's pretty much all you need. And fuel. Enough fuel to actually return. But for now, for this mission, you're going to need a lot more. We're going to have 2.4k meters per second of delta V. And again, this is just the amount of change fuel you have the ability to change the position of your rocket, the conditions of it. You can, basically you can go faster, you can slow yourself down, you can go left and right, whatever. So make sure you have enough fuel. Again, I'm going to post the Delta V chart on the description below, and you should need about probably 6k to do a moon mission, or maybe 7k to be on the safe side. Just because you are new players and stuff like that, so just try to get a big number, 7k. I think it would probably be around, for like more experienced players, you could probably do it at 5k, probably less, honestly. But for now, try to get a big number, the biggest number you can get out of a rocket, delta V wise, with a lander on top of it. Try to do it the best you can, and it's really up to you on how you want to do that. But if you want to build something like this rocket right here, go ahead and do that. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into the specifications now. So for this landing vehicle, you're going to need landing legs, of course. You should use 4. Later on, you're going to be able to do landings with 3 or even less, honestly, at that point. You can use structural objects around your lander. For example, you could have put tanks to land on if you wanted to. If you just want to land on tanks, having tanks instead of your engine, you can do that. Just basically all you gotta do is just push them down, and you're gonna land on those tanks. Very structurally stable, but you know, more than 2 at least. But anyway, you can do that. But for now, I recommend using landing legs so you can have a little bit of leeway how hard you hit the ground and stuff like that. So you should have RCS if you want to. You really don't need it, but for the start, I think you should have it. I'm not gonna have it now because you know, you really don't actually require it, but you know, it will help a little bit. Ladder. I remember when you're going to another body, you need ladders. Not for the Mun and Minmus, because you can use the Kerbal's jetpack to get back into the ship. But for now, have a ladder. It's good practice to get used to having ladders, because sometimes, and I kid you not, it happens to everybody. Okay, you end up doing this whole mission, right? You go to Eve or something, and then you realize, crap, I can't get back in my ship, and then you want to kill yourself. And that's something you need to avoid, so make sure to get used to putting ladders on your ships. Alright, so, you know, it's just a little bit of a contingency plan, you know. Sometimes you end up flying around too much with your jetpack and you end up running out of fuel. Don't worry, you got ladders to get back up, so no problem. And again, parachute, just make sure you have a parachute, right? It's very important, okay? Very, very freaking important. You're gonna come back, okay? So make sure you have a parachute and a heat shield. And again, normally you wouldn't have a secondary stage, but you should have an orbital secondary stage right here, like I do. This is going to be the stage that's going to push us into outside of the, well, into basically lunar orbit and Minmus orbit. So yeah, very cool stuff, very cool stuff. Again, bigger engines and stuff, no big deal. Mess around with it, have fun as you build, but make sure that the lander itself is actually very important, very, very stable, and has a lot of delta V to use. And the last bit about the lander is I want you to have a lot of SAS reaction wheels, okay? Advanced inline stabilizers, they have a lot of reaction wheels, so pitch torque 15, yaw torque 15. So this is basically just gonna be the thing. Okay, I think I have a good analogy. So these are your training wheels, okay? So make sure you have at least 3 of them, depending on how big your lander is, but make sure you have a lot of them. And I'll explain why you need them in a bit, once we actually get out into you know, lunar orbit. Well, actually, I'm gonna explain it now. So, just because you may end up not using, you're like, he's a noob, he doesn't know what he's doing. But trust me, I do. These are basically things that allow you to maneuver in space, and if you have a lot of them, even if you end up falling over on the moon, you'll be able to basically put yourself upright without having to use any sort of thrusting or anything. Basically, you still may not know what I'm talking about, but you will see where I mean in a bit. So anyway, let's go ahead and again save the ship. Make sure we save your ships before you launch, and yeah, let's go ahead and launch this thing. So anyway, guys, make sure if you're doing this in career mode, make sure you're doing a pilot or anything like that. Maybe a probe to give you the right SAS you need. So anyway, let's go ahead and launch. Again, this is going to be a normal orbital maneuver, orbital injection, I guess. Honestly, it's probably what it's called. So again, just fly up and start turning your inclination a little bit towards the 90, which is east, I think. Yeah, east, which is that way. Sunrise is over there and stuff like that, which is very cool stuff. But anyway, again, just if you need help getting into orbit, go ahead and watch the last couple parts. I basically teach you how to do it. And another thing I want to mention is when you're going to Minmus or the moon, you don't have to worry about actually launching at the right time. You can just wait in orbit. The moon, at least, you don't have to wait too much. Minmus is a little more difficult because of its inclination, orbital inclination. I'll explain that again in a bit. So, you know, just don't worry about that stuff, that part of you know, making sure that you're launching at the right time. You know, timing is not that big of a deal right now when doing these type of missions. So just make sure you can get into orbit easily. And again, this is going to serve as practice for you. When want to get good or really good at going into orbit to conserve fuel and stuff like that. So just make sure you do that stuff. And I'm going to go to Minmus first, actually, instead of going to the moon. And that's because landing on Minmus is surprisingly a lot easier than landing on the moon, which is a very big thing that people miss, you know, because they assume, right? Oh, Minmus is all the way out here. Why would I go to Minmus? The moon is very close. Look at it. It's like, you know, it's like less than 1/4 closer or something like that. You know what I mean? So, you know, just 1/4 of the distance away of Minmus. So naturally, you would say, I'm gonna go to the moon since it's closer. It should be easier to land on, right? No, it's not. Sadly, the moon has larger gravity, causing you to make it easier for you to actually to fall over and basically just blow up a couple parts, you know, get stranded on the moon, maybe squishing your Kerbal with the ship, you know, stuff like that. Simple stuff like that. And that's going to make things a little frustrating. So again, just go for Minmus first. Minmus is a good target to start off with. And honestly, it's the more interesting looking moon out of all of them, in my opinion. Well, not really out of all of them, but at least out of the moon. The moon basically just is the moon, you know. White, ground, stuff like that. Not that really big of importance to it, but you know what I mean. So anyway, I ended up having a bit of fuel in my first stage, which is good. You know, you want to conserve fuel here. That wasn't the best launch trajectory, but once you get really good at it, it doesn't really matter, honestly. At least not with this mission. We got more than enough fuel. I put so much fuel in this thing that you don't need to worry about anything. I could probably land the ship with this stage, in my opinion. So anyway, I pressed alternate and Alt F5 basically to get this screen to pop up here. And I want to put this as orbit position. Something like that. Save. And I want to explain why I did that is because I actually am going to go to Minmus, right? During the first, in like a couple minutes here, I'm going to Minmus. And then I'm going to press Alt F9. And then click orbit position and come back to this exact point right now. In order for me to go to the moon. That's going to save time. It's going to make this a little more simpler to explain, and hopefully you'll be able to learn more out of it since we will land on both objects here. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stage. I don't need that 133 meters per second fuel anyway. So anyway, again, when you're going to somewhere, just make sure somewhere like a body or trying to dock with something, make sure you set a right click it, whatever you're trying to go to, and then set as target. And then the simple trick when you're going to Minmus is look for the descending nodes and ascending nodes and click on them. Remember, when you burn on this side, you make your orbit go up over here. When you burn on this side, you make your orbit go up over there. And for now, we need to intersect Minmus over here. So all you gotta do is click on the opposing node here, add maneuver, and burn prograde all the way, I guess. And eventually, due to the way orbits work, you will get an encounter. It's going to take a while since it is Minmus. Minmus is further away. Once you get up here, your speed is very slow, and you know, it's a little frustrating, but no big deal. So anyway, we do this burn in 16 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and warp to that. And once you get that done, you'll be on your way to Minmus. So Minmus is pretty easy to get a trajectory with an orbit, basically. Since the gravity is smaller, the object is smaller, you can go down slower, your engine is a lot more responsive. A couple mistakes that people make is they wait too long to activate their engines, causing them to basically murder their Kerbals, you know what I mean? They just go wham. They just go pancake on the ground. So, oh, I missed the burn. I was talking too much. But anyway. Since it is Minmus, the burn doesn't have to be perfect. Again, basically just gotta burn prograde. And eventually, on one of the descending nodes and ascending nodes, even if you do it on the other side, you can probably still get an encounter. Just gotta be a little bit more cheeky about it, I guess if you know what I mean. But anyway, gonna do this burn, get our orbit all the way out to the orbit of Minmus, and hopefully that gets us the encounter that we want in a little bit here. So anyway, again, the moon's right there. I'll show you a little trick with the moon, something to make things even easier for you guys that are struggling to get an encounter with it. Once we actually land on Minmus and do all that stuff anyway. So yeah. And also another benefit to having the reaction wheels here is your rocket is very maneuverable, making everything a lot more, everything you do basically in the game more simpler than you would think it would be. So very cool stuff. So anyway, we get an encounter right there, and we actually get a double encounter with the moon once you come back, which would be a cool thing to do, but you know, we're not gonna do it now. We're just gonna go ahead and just warp all the way to Minmus. So you should probably bring, again, solar panels. I did bring them, but I'm not going to use them right now. We really don't need them yet, but I got the big enough batteries to deal with it. But once you're trying to go for a landing, electricity is going to be your saving grace, trust me. So make sure you got that done. And if you're doing this in career mode with a Pro, make sure you put an antenna on it. I'm starting to talk a little more about career mode just because I want to make sure you guys don't end up screwing yourself over when you send a rocket and end up not having control over it, you know what I mean? So it's tough sometimes. I'm just trying to make everything a little more simple and less complicated for you guys. As best as I can, I guess. But, you know, sometimes it's not very easy to explain something that you've been doing basically for a very long time. And it takes a while to, you know, it's not the same thing as learning something and teaching it. It's very different. And it makes everything a little more complicated, especially when you believe that you know everything. And I'll admit, I'm not the best at this game either. There's still a couple things I haven't been able to do, which I wish I could. Mostly because I get frustrated with my computer. My computer isn't the best at running this game. My processor isn't the best. And, you know, that limits the amount of stuff that I can do. Once you get up with part counts over 100 or 200 parts, you know what I mean? A big problem with the game is the optimization. It's not that big of a deal anymore, but back in the day it used to be a really big problem. The optimization was just completely crap, man. And you could barely run it, even if you had like a very decent PC, like I do. But, you know, it's still an issue for, you know, lower end computers. I mean, it's just decent. I have an FX 6300 and stuff like that, but, and an R9 380. It was a good budget PC back in the day, but now it's starting to show its age a little bit. But hopefully soon I'll be able to upgrade and stuff like that, and be able to do those missions that I want to do with more mods and stuff like that. So anyway, not complaining though. The game runs perfectly fine when you know, you're basically doing basic stuff and things. So anyway, to go into orbit, I didn't even mention that. I'm sorry. To go into orbit, you just burn retrograde wherever you are, any part, as long as you're in the sphere of influence around Minmus. You know, when you get an encounter, your orbit goes blue. Once your orbit goes blue around, or where, you know, when you're in Minmus, in the sphere of influence of Minmus, you know, you don't have an orbit. Your orbit around here turns yellow, I think. Yeah, when it turns yellow, your orbit close to Minmus turns blue. That means you're in the sphere of influence, meaning you can burn a retrograde and basically get it captured. And that is the fun part, I guess. So anyway, all you got to land, basically all you gotta do, once you pick a spot that you want to land at, just get in the right position around your orbit. Again, it's very hard to explain how you would do this, but just get into the position you want to be. Also, don't do the stupid thing. Actually, I'm gonna show you that later. So a very common mistake that gets me very frustrated with people. I'm gonna show it to you in a bit. But anyway, make sure you just gotta burn retrograde. Eventually your orbit will drop. Keep on dropping, as you can see. So basically right now we would keep it like this. We would land somewhere around here, probably over here, because remember, Minmus rotates along with pretty much everything else. So, you know, you're not going to land exactly where it's telling you. There's a really good mod that tells you where you would land, but, you know, we're playing stock KSP pretty much here, other than for Kerbal Engineer. So anyway, I'm going to try to go for this little flat area over here. Make sure you always try to go for a easy landing, at least for the first couple times. I don't think I'm going to be able to land there because, again, the planet is rotating. The moon is, at least. So, anyway. Again, I ended up with more fuel than I really do need. But, again, this is also something I told you to do. Make sure you do have the fuel that you need, that you require to do this mission. More than you require, sorry. Make sure you always do that. Wherever mission you go to, make sure you have more than the fuel you need. Just in case something goes wrong. You never know. Something really bad may happen, and you may end up need to rescue someone or something with the extra fuel, and then you end up having too little bit of fuel to come back home. And again, just to give you an opportunity to avoid a lot of frustration that a lot of people go through. And basically, the real reason is that I'm doing that is because I don't want you to quit on me, Again, a lot of big problem with this game is that it just causes people to just want to quit. So, again, when you're going in for this final approach, make sure you watch your speed. Don't want to come in too fast. So, again, practice here at Minmus. And your speed, make sure that it's low. Keep it under, once you're close, keep it under 50 meters per second. Try your best. Here at Minmus is very easy. Once you slow down, the gravity won't make you go very fast. So just make sure, watch your shadow down there. Make sure it doesn't get too crazy and you're not coming in too fast. And also, if you have Kerbal Engineer installed, you can basically see your altitude here, terrain, and it basically tells you the exact altitude that you have on where you're coming down on. So make sure. Also use your SAS, click retrograde, and just basically use your engine to slow down. Right now I'm using the second stage to land here. You probably wouldn't do that. Make sure you stage and use your landing legs. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and do that here. So I'm gonna show you how gentle the gravity is, and make sure you activate the SAS once you get under 10 meters per second and start piloting your own ship. So I'm gonna drop that. Deploy the landing gear. So there goes that landing stage. So again, I just wanted to add a little bit of oomph. You know what I mean? Something to do on the surface. So anyway, when you're here, stay calm. Okay, don't panic. Use slow burns. Make sure your speed is completely down to 0, and also make sure that this is in surface, not orbit. In orbit, it's again, look. Surface is 0, even though clearly it's 0, right? On orbit, we're apparently still moving. And once you landed in a flat area, deactivate your SAS and you should be fine. Okay? Perfect, right? Yeah, good job. You landed. But, in my honest opinion, you're probably gonna be landed in some weird orientation like this, right? This is probably pretty much how your landing went, right? You probably came down. Make sure you use the F5 a lot. Quick save. Make sure you press that button a lot. It's going to help you out. And, you probably end up like this, right? And you may say, damn, what am I supposed to do now? I don't have any way to lift the rocket up. If you followed what I told you in the beginning of the video, to put a lot of these reaction wheels, you will simply be able to just basically press A and do this. Right? Basically able to do that. And that's the amazing part of this game. You can basically overpower physics in that way. And you activate SAS and the legs should be able to pull you down, right? Simple stuff like that, man. It's just simple stuff. And once you're like this, you activate it and you'll just basically chill here. And again, to get your Kerbal out, press the V8 button and you'll be able to get your Kerbal down. On Minmus, you don't need to use a ladder. A jump will basically probably bring you up almost all the way up to the, even beyond the ship that we have here. So anyway, press R to activate your jetpack. Basically, cool stuff. So anyway, once you're here, just mess around with the Kerbals, alright? You can plant a flag, boom. Just a Kerbal Space Program flag. You can get your own flags installed if you want. And put whatever text there and stuff like that. So, yeah, you can fly around. You can use the jetpack. It's a little weird right now, but yeah, you can use the jetpack to fly around and stuff like that. Very cool stuff. But, yeah, that's basically how you land. I mean, just hold retrograde. Use your SAS to your advantage. Hold retrograde. Use your engine. Make sure you have enough thrust-to-weight ratio. and you'll be fine. And if you end up messing up, don't worry, you landed on Minmus. As long as you didn't lose anything valuable, you'll be fine. You can just pull yourself up and basically get yourself on your legs. And if anything else goes wrong, you have the F5. You can just basically quick save back to your old position and revert, I guess, to your old position, and that will give you multiple chances to land. And overall, it's a very easy thing to do, in my opinion. You can probably get it down, and probably by like 5 times. Just gotta do it 5 times, and you'll probably be an expert at it. At least with the ship you currently have. And later on, once you get really good at it, you won't need these stupid reaction wheels. You'll just be able to land with your ship. Simple. And that's probably one of the best things in the game. So yeah, again, you have ladders to get back up. We can do that. Let's go ahead and get back up here. Go. You can use the RCS pack again. You don't need to, but just make sure you put ladders. Sometimes you may need it. I don't know. It may save your butt. So anyway, let's go ahead and press Alt and F9 and go back to our orbit position where we were about 10 minutes ago, back in Kerbin orbit. And I'll go over the landing process a little bit better this time. I'll try my best. I didn't do that well. I started talking about completely random stuff, and I apologize for that. But this time I'm going to try my best to go over the process a little bit more than before. So let's go ahead and go. Anyway, so we're back here. And for the moon, there's a very simple trick. If you're having trouble with maneuver notes and stuff like that, you should probably keep on practicing. But if you're having trouble and if you absolutely cannot, for the life of you, get an encounter with the moon for whatever reason, do this simple trick. Activate time warp all the way around, and wait till the moon basically rises from the horizon. Once the moon rises from the horizon, all you gotta do is burn prograde, and eventually you will get an encounter with it. One of the most simple things in the game. So we gotta wait till it comes out. Wait, come on. There's Minmus. You can see Minmus, and there's a moon. Okay, so all you gotta do is press prograde, and your rocket will basically orientate itself in that direction. And once you're oriented in the right direction, all you gotta do is make a very big burn up about 800 meters per second, and eventually you will get an encounter with the moon. And again, you can set it as target if you need extra help. The moon is one of the easiest places to get an encounter with, so make sure you learn how to do it, because you're gonna look like a noob if you don't know how to do it correctly. But anyway, once the moon rises, make sure you point retrograde and activate your engine. That engine runs out of fuel. Activate this second engine stage here, and once this burn is done, as you can see, once it get somewhere around here, the orbit, by doing this simple trick, waiting for it to rise before you do your burn, you will get a simple encounter, very cool encounter over here, and you don't have to do no maneuver node. And if you want proof, I'm just gonna put a little if I can even over here. Oh, there we go. Put a little maneuver node there, and if you want proof, I'm just gonna do this, and see, you get an encounter. That's simple. So yeah, very simple stuff, very cool stuff. Can't really do much else about that, I mean, in my honest opinion. So yeah, and one of the easiest places to get an encounter with, probably easier than Minmus because it has a large amount of gravity. And there you go, there's your encounter. So anyway, a very common mistake that I see people do, and is one of the more infuriating ones, is this, and I'll show it to you in a bit. Let's see if I can warp here. Okay, there you go. I'm warping all the way there. And you'll see what I'm talking about, and you'll know how frustrating it is, man. It's just ridiculous. Alright? Watch what people do, alright? I'm gonna show you. And if you're doing this, you gotta stop it, alright? It's not good for your health, trust me. Alright, so this is something that people do here. Look, okay, they see, okay, I'm going to the moon, right? I'm gonna land on it. I'm going straight at it. Right? See? Landing, right? Don't do that, man. That's just don't. It's not. Trust me, you don't want to do that, okay? You can't. With this method here, it's a lot more stressful. You end up burning probably more fuel as you need to slow down faster, more than you would need. I mean, it's pretty much the same, but you can't basically target. I mean, you can do it. You can do it if you're a pro, but trust me, you're gonna probably end up messing up. So don't do it, alright? So in order to fix this, again, you can do it, but you make sure what you're doing. You know what you're doing, you know what I mean? You can fix this by just basically burning, looking at where the moon is, right? All you gotta do is burn in the direction that you want to go. Here I want to pull this orbit here so we can go around in an orbit. So yeah, it's gonna go and do that. And look at that, it's slowly starting to pull itself out, and you got an orbit. Flyby, I guess now. Before we were in an impact trajectory at that point, but now we have a flyby. Again, this is when we get into the sphere of influence. We know we're in the sphere of influence because the orbit is blue. And once we get down to that periapsis, we'll go again do another retrograde burn. And once we do that burn, we will be successfully captured around the moon. And once we are in that position, we can basically pick where we want to land at. I'll try to land at a little more difficult spot again for you guys here. Retrograde burn brings us down into a successful orbit. And once we do that, I think we will be ready for the final approach. So again, once we're there, we'll go ahead and warp to the other side. I'm trying to go a little bit faster to avoid this video getting too long. So yeah, anyway, we're here. Click on retrograde and let the ship basically guide itself down once you got this done. It's pretty simple stuff. You just gotta keep practicing, alright? Even if I did the best job at explaining it, you're probably still not gonna be able to do it the first time. Make sure you quick save. I quick saved before you go in for the final approach. Use as much fuel as you can from outside the last stage, the landing stage. Make sure you waste all the resources you have, because sometimes you end up having trouble landing and you may waste more fuel than you actually need to do. Watch your altitude. Don't go too fast down. There's Kerbin. Very cool. Don't go too fast down. Make sure you take a nice and slow approach here. Make sure you switch over to surface velocity here. Let's go ahead and keep going. Watch out around at the rim of the crater here. Keep slowing yourself down. By 20,000 meters, you should be under 300 meters per second. Trust me, you don't want to go any faster than that. But for now, we're just going to go to 150 meters. Just watch your speed. I can't really explain the best way to do it to conserve fuel. There is something called a suicidal burn, but you don't want to do that the first time. You probably will end up doing it, but not the right way. Basically what it is just waiting till the absolute last minute that you can do the burn. But when you have a lot of fuel like I do right here, again, if you're having the best approach, you can quick save again, right? You can quick save and just basically land or fail at the landing and then just press F9 and you'll respawn up there and everything's good to go. So anyway, let's go ahead and keep on slowing down. We have a very powerful engine. Make sure you do have a powerful engine with a high thrust to weight ratio to do this landing. It helps a lot. Like here, I can basically wait as much as I want, or chill as much as I want, and do the burn when I need it to, and it will be very responsive. The serve velocity will go down very fast, making this landing a lot simpler than you would think it would be in the first time. So anyway, you keep going down. Make sure you're pointing retrograde. Make sure you're at surface velocity. Make sure your altitude terrain. Watch that stuff. Make sure you're not landing in a very bad spot like I am here. I'm landing in a very terrible spot, but I'm going for a landing. Make sure you drop the stage that's gonna be hard to land with. As you can see, that thing's gonna crash and it's gonna be a very violent explosion. There you go. So anyway, once you're going straight down with like this, basically land, and your SAS will basically hold your ship in the position you want it to be. So anyway, you gotta do is do that, and eventually, that's it. That's your landing. That's how you land on the moon. Nothing very difficult about it. It's very simple, straightforward stuff. I feel like I probably didn't do the best job of doing it, but again, you just gotta do what you gotta do, man. And you're not gonna do it. You can have a little bit of trouble. I had a little bit of trouble, but make sure you just do this couple basic things I told you, and you'll be able to do it just fine. And I'm debating if I should show you how to return. I think I'm gonna show you how to return. Again, you can do an EVA, get down. I'm gonna go ahead and do that just because we made the trip. Might as well do it, right? So I get down. The moon. Again, the moon has higher gravity, so you have a little bit more issues at actually flying around and stuff like that. But still basic stuff. You can still jump pretty high and stuff. So you wouldn't need your ladder. But again, bump in the head. But again, just make sure you include it, because sometimes you may end up making flying around like here. I believe there's a couple Easter eggs. I'm not too sure if they're located here though. Oh, he hit his head. But anyway, yeah, there's a couple Easter eggs around. You may want to fly to one. I think there might be one here. The rim of a crater, I think. I'm not too sure, but anyway, if there is, I'll look for it actually. I'll look for it. I want to see. I don't see it. I don't see the... Yeah, there's like an arch. It's pretty cool stuff. You should look at them. You should look it up. Myself, I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen most of them. And, you know, accidentally actually found it, and I was like, oh crap, what is this? And then I looked it up, and it turned out everyone already seen it. So I was like, ah, fudge. But yeah. Anyway, whatever. If you want me to show you some of them, tell me. I'll try my best. But yeah. Anyway, guys, I think now that we did this, the last thing I need to do is basically show you guys how to return home. So a launch from the moon is basically very straightforward. All you gotta do is similar stuff as you would do from Kerbin, I guess. Board. Again, make sure your stage is engaged, engine is on, SES is activated, and again, you want to go into an orbit, same direction basically, point towards the 90, and eventually you will get there. Same direction. So once you do that, you checked all those things. Make sure you got your science. If you're doing career mode or something like that, make sure you did all the contracts. Make sure you did everything you needed to do. Make sure you plan a flag. I didn't plan a flag, but that's fine. So yeah, let's go ahead and then just press C, full power, and start pointing towards that 90 over there. So all you gotta do is get into orbit. You need about 600 meters per second of delta V to get into orbit around the moon. So all you gotta do is just get into a decent altitude, around 10,000 meters should be enough. There you go. There you go. We'll do 13 or 14 around there. And once you get there, time warp again. And right now we're in a very good position to do this, but I want to show you something, how to get into orbit. But yeah, get into orbit if you need to. If not, just basically, if you're in a position like this, where if you burn prograde, just burn prograde, and eventually you will get into a slower orbit because you're gaining speed this way. The moon is, you're actually going this way, but the moon is pulling you this way, so it's redirecting your momentum that way, causing your orbit to basically slow down. You can do that, but if you're not in a good position, make sure you go into orbit first, like I'm doing right now. Well, I was, but then I saw that I could do that. But anyway, get into orbit first, like so. We're in orbit, and once you're in a good position like this, I'm gonna show you here. At maneuver, you go prograde. You get the trajectory you want here, and as you can see, you end up going into the atmosphere of Kerbin. Simple, basic stuff. You can do it in many other ways, but you know, just make sure you're at the opposite side. You're basically going the opposite way that the moon is going. So the moon is going this way, as you can see by the highlighted part of its orbit. So the moon is moving this way. You just want to go this way, and you will lose all that momentum, causing you to basically fall back to the planet and basically land on the planet, I guess you could say, if you want to be fancy about words too. Anyway, so now that we're there, make sure you do the maneuver as much as you need. You got more than enough fuel, so don't worry about it too much. But yeah, burn radial in. That's gonna help a little bit. Burn retrograde more, prograde, I mean. But basically, overall, you're burning retrograde. And you want your periapsis, your final approach periapsis, to be again around 37,000 meters. Just because that's low enough to get you captured. I mean, you know, not captured, but low enough to slow you down enough that you actually come down to the surface. And high enough that you won't actually burn yourself and basically kill your Kerbal. So, anyway, once you've done that, once you've landed and stuff like that, you're proud of yourself, you're happy, you can come home to Kerbin and have a nice time here. So, yeah, the video sadly was around 40 minutes. So, I'm going to try to go as fast as possible here. Don't time warp too fast, because there's a glitch where you time warp too fast, you time warp all the way across the atmosphere, and you don't get your encounter with the atmosphere, meaning you're just gonna go for another orbit, make things a lot longer than they need to be. So anyway, once you get down here, Make sure your parachute is not in the same stage as your last decouple. Click retrograde, and the Kerbal should handle it if you have a pilot or a core that has any sort of SAS. So once it's done, make sure you have heat shield. Again, I mentioned that at the start of the video. And I think I made it sound more simple than it actually was. So hopefully you guys can do it in your first try. You know, a lot of people end up failing in the first try. I did. I failed a lot of times because I wanted to do it myself. But I think that it's a very good thing once you do it, and you should be able to, you know, enjoy it, because you can, once you can do that, you can basically bring rovers, you can bring planes to other planets, you can do all that stuff. So simple stuff, honestly. And it's sad that sometimes people are like, oh man, I hate this game, man, I can't land anywhere, I can't go anywhere, my ships don't work, and they end up giving up. So again, just keep on trying, man. If you fail, don't worry about it, everyone does. So it's not simple, it is rocket science, alright? So just think about it. And yeah, so don't worry about it, just keep on going, man, and you'll eventually get it. Eventually you will. So don't worry about it. And again, guys, if you enjoy this or you found this helpful in any way, shape, or form, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and click on the notification bell to get more of these. Next episode, we'll be doing a transfer to Duna, and actually, I think if anything, that might actually be the last part. Maybe I might do something with, probably not with asteroids. I don't think anyone wants to do anything with those anyway. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, guys, next episode will be a transfer to Duna and landing on Duna. You know, Duna is a good spot where you can do multiple things. It has a moon, it has a atmosphere, it has a low amount of gravity, it has a thin atmosphere, so you can basically take a plane if you wanted to, but I'm not going to because it's complicated and I don't want to do that. And it's gonna kill me, so I don't want to do it. Okay, so yeah. So yeah, guys, again, thanks for watching. Once this Kerbal gets down here, we'll end it. So right about now, there we go. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next video.